hello. I can't see you, but I bet you've all got smashing blouses on. Go on, who said that?
Rick Mail lives again. It's uncanny. But not as Rick Mail, of course. It was in Bottom, was it not?
It was, yeah. It was Bottom when he was. It was a dating agency, wasn't he? He was did his video tape for the. That's his chat up line, by the way. I bet you that's a smashing blouse.
Smashing blouses, yeah. Didn't he at other times refer to a smashing smock? Or have I just rewritten that line in my head?
No, I think that you've remembered that in a different way to...
It's good, though, isn't it? Smashing smock works as well.
You always have to shoehorn a smock in there every time you fancy. Anyway, hello is what I was going to say, and then I went, hello, and welcome to the Comedy Slab podcast. I'm Shane O'Connor. He's Adrian Lacey. If you've not caught up with us before, we're quick, aren't we? If you've not caught up with us before on the podcast, we get together every week and we analyse and criticise and slabadise a particular comedy that we've chosen. I choose one week, he chooses one the next week. It was my turn last week to choose this one this week. And if you're still keeping up, you're doing very well. You might want a pencil and paper. I have, actually, can I just say, because I've been away for a few days in between the last podcast and this podcast. I just slipped out while nobody was looking.
Somewhere nice.
Only Spain, dear, only Spain. I went to Spain, dear.
Well,
it was lovely.
Nice.
It was lovely. It's very hot. Very hot. I noticed the natives were very sweaty. But what I was doing on my summer holidays, and what I managed to do was, and this is all thanks to the Comedy Slab, and for you I'm very grateful for allowing me to choose. I think I chose it, actually. Simon Evans Goes to Market.
Yeah.
I'm on to series 3 already. I've been having a binge.
Well, I was listening to the news quiz just this very evening, and of course he was on the panel. And,
he seems to get a bit of work now, doesn't he? He's doing quite well.
I think we've helped him along, frankly, such is the power of the slab.
I think you're right. It was only 3 episodes ago, but all of a sudden his stellar career has just
He's everywhere.
Shot up exponentially, hasn't it? Which is
quite
painful if you're not careful about it. But it doesn't always work, does it, when you binge on a series? But I kind of thought... I'll give it a go, and I've really enjoyed it. It's really, really, really funny. Particularly the Vices one, which we did alcohol, didn't we? There's alcohol, tobacco, coffee, and sugar. The sugar episode I thoroughly recommend because it's quite frightening with the truths that are intermingled into the comedy. But there you go. Anyway, what have you been doing? I missed you. You're looking ever so pale.
Well, I was just thinking that you're looking pale, and I'm not just saying that because you've just said it to me. Are you one of those people who just covers up, one of the Brits who hides under a rock?
It's the way I'm lit.
We should explain that we can see each other by Skype, but trust me, it's not an advantage. It's purely for timing for us. You're not missing out, dear listener.
I like to see his face. That's the other thing. Can I just say, the way I'm lit, it is seriously the way I'm lit, because I've got an iPad on my desk there. If I move that away, you see I'm lit differently now.
You're rosy red now.
Yeah, so it makes me very pale and drawn, my iPad does. I think it was the cost of it. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying? You saw what?
I prefer you drawn. Someone might do it in a more flattering way, a flattering light.
People like me to be drawn and hung and quartered at the same time.
I couldn't possibly comment. You can say that. I mean, how am I? Not bad, considering. I haven't spent all week reading this article. In fact, I realise now that I haven't finished it, but it doesn't matter. I've got an article here. It was actually an interview with Frankie Boyle.
Oh, yeah.
Comedian, a Marmite comedian, I guess. You used to live in the town of Marmite, didn't you?
So, yeah, I don't live very far away now, yeah. Burton-on-Trent, you mean? Yeah,
so with a following breeze... Do you get a whiff?
Well, the house I used to have before, it was really weird because there was because there's all the brewing in Burton-on-Trent.
Yeah, so it was called Smelly Town, wasn't it, by the locals? Or?
Was it really? And then I moved, and then suddenly they've stopped
calling it that.
Yeah, weird. But they because that's why Marmite is there, is because it uses the yeast that the brewers used.
It's not coincidence then.
No, it's a yeast-related device for them. But there was all the brewing in the town, and then in Tutbury, which is a village not far outside Burton-on-Trent, there was a massive Nestle coffee factory.
Right.
And when I used to get up early in the morning, I used to go out the house, and I could tell which way the wind was blowing. If it was coming from the town, all I could smell was Marmite, and if it came from the other side, it blew across Tutbury, and all I could smell was coffee. So.
And if it smells of flatulence, you realised you were in London.
But the place to live is not far away from either of those two places. A place called Uttoxeter, where the racecourse is.
Damn you, Toxeter. We've been there. Yeah.
Because, damn Marjorie to you, Toxeter are back. Because it's got a huge Fox's Biscuits factory, and it's like the fair has come to town, and they've opened the world's biggest donut shop. It's just amazing. It's
you do get that in London, if it's still the case. I used to get it going into London from the wilds of Watford, passing the McVitie factory. It was just by the railway tracks.
Oh, right. I thought of you, by the way, this week.
Did you? That's a very unusual week.
Somebody had their hand chopped off in the street in Abbots Langley.
No.
Well, that is quite shocking, isn't it, really? On all counts.
Yes, I don't really want to think about that.
He'd been attacked. This lad had been attacked by another lad, and he chopped it. And they found his hand, but they couldn't find it in time to reattach it, and so he couldn't. But I thought Abbots Langley of all places, it's like, which is just outside Watford, isn't it? Which is like a kind of. My brother used to live there. It's kind of sleepy little knoll, isn't it? Really, but yeah, there you go. Anyway, sorry, go on, Frankie Boyle.
Thank you for bringing the mood up.
Soz.
Yeah, where do I go after that? Frankie Boyle being interviewed. Now, this is a trade magazine. I think it should come with a health warning. If you're in the trade of broadcasting, it's fabulous. If not, don't think you're going to get loads of showbiz gossip in it, because the only kind of gossip you get is head of commissioning at Channel 4 was seen at a drinks do with, and so on. But this is what I want to get to just before we slab. What are we slabbing tonight?
We
you
are
mention it? It seems so long ago.
No, we haven't. This Way Up, which is the
this
new Aisling Bea thing that she's written for Channel 4, and stars her and Sharon Horgan, which I'm always partial to a bit of Sharon Horgan. I think she's quite entertaining. But yeah, brand new comedy. Go on. So yeah,
right. We'll get to that in just a sec with 3 audio clips as well. This is what Frankie Boyle says in answer to the question: do producers, and you can tell it's a trade mag. It's not what's your favourite colour and how tall are you? It's do producers and broadcasters need to put new measures in place to protect comedy talent from criticism? Fast forward. A couple of paragraphs in. This is what Frankie says.
Oh.
Now, remember, Frankie is. I mean, you wouldn't take your kids even when you wouldn't take them at any age, I would think, under 14, 16.
27.
Frankie Boyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you expect him to, be fairly robust when it comes to criticism. Anyway, he says the comedy industry, maybe even the viewers, need to think about their responsibilities when it comes to criticism. I'm a comedy fan, and when that's not such a daft thing to say when you're a comedian,
no.
but it needs saying every now and again. They're all fans, I guess.
I mean, I worked on the radio for 15 years, and I hated listening to the radio.
So, but I hated to listening to you on the radio.
Yeah, that's different. That's
more
different
specific.
Entirely. But you know what I mean? But the two aren't mutually exclusive, are they?
Can I finish the paragraph?
Yeah, sorry, go on.
When you were on the radio, at least I could turn you off, shut you up.
But now all you do is turn me on.
Oh, hey! I gave you that. You can have that on a plate.
I've started advertising this as a bromance podcast. Go on, yeah. So what's he saying?
Okay. It's closer to necromancing than bromance, I would have thought.
Anyway, I'd have said, but...
Each to their own. I'm a comedy fan. I'll finish this if it kills me. When it will kill me. I'm a comedy fan, and when a new show launches and it gets monstered on Twitter, this is Frankie speaking, of course, I worry the next year's commission for that slot will be Dion Dublin's beekeeping challenge or Divorce from My Dog. So you'd think, Frankie Boyle, of all people, I would have thought, I was surprised by that tone. I thought he'd say, come on, bring it on. I'm hard as nails. Say what you like about me on Twitter. And anyone else, free speech, all of that. And actually what he's saying is, careful what you wish for and careful what you say on Twitter as a fan or more a non-fan specifically of something that you want to monster. What do you make of that?
I think it's absolute horse poop, isn't it, really? Because if you say... you don't like something, then what do you care whether it gets commissioned or not, or something of a similar ilk because you don't like it? I mean, like I say to you, I always say this to you, everybody can't like everything. And just by law of averages, you're going to come across things and you think, oh, well, I don't like it. I mean, maybe it's the tone on Twitter because it does encourage keyboard warriors, doesn't it?
It is somewhat shrill. Yeah.
Whereas we always say on this, I don't think we've ever slagged anything off in that sense. I think we've said
we don't monster, do we?
No,
we are monsters. That's a different issue.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think there's any mileage in that anyway. Because like you always point out, the hard work that goes into these things, and this is somebody's living. So you kind of go, oh, that's not for me. But there's a lot. I mean, I don't like. A lot of the stuff that's supposed to be comedy on ITV3, but I wouldn't wish it any ill. I mean, if it's got an audience, fine. It doesn't bother me. I'm not paying
for our age group half the time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what do you make of it? Do you think has he got a point? Do you think, or is it? I think it's a bit precious of him. I do.
It does sound that way. I mean, I guess he's coming from good intentions, which is not something Frankie Boyle usually gets accused of. No. But elsewhere he said, what was the phrase? Oh, he's talked about comedy being... Oh, here we go. It's only a couple of paragraphs further down, so I'll just read this. If I was making my living commenting on comedy, this is where I felt it was relevant to us, because we're not comedians, but we do review comedy. I'd be thinking about whether it was in my interest to be talking this ultimately fairly niche industry down. The decision makers at broadcasters are only humans. So he's talking about commissioners, that sort of person with that power. We greenlight that series or we can it, kind of thing. So that's everywhere in the industry. There are safer bets, he finally says in this paragraph, than comedy. And if we're not all a bit more supportive, channels will start taking them. Well, I don't think it's quite that fragile, is it? I mean, we've said... This is an absolute golden age of comedy in the UK and beyond. Yeah. It's just absolutely fantastic at the moment. I don't think it's so fragile that if I go... I mean, I wouldn't do it, but people who do it on Twitter... I mean, any publicity is good publicity, I think. And if someone's ranting and angry, well, I don't think a commissioner's going to think, oh, look, there's an angry person on Twitter, I'll pull that show.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? If you look at how many complaints Gary Lineker has had about him... And the BBC steadfastly... I mean, they don't need Gary Lineker for Match of the Day. People watch Match of the Day for Match of the Day. To be honest with you could put a cardboard cutout of Crazy Frog there, and people would still... because they go to watch the football. In fact, people avoid the pundits very often. And they put it's the commissioners who place too much emphasis on it. But, yeah, I agree. And I also don't think... Not only is it that... It's not that fragile. It's not that unique either, because if somebody put a crap drama on the TV, they'd soon know about it. I mean, I've seen stuff get really absolutely slated and hammered. Dramas or anything. I don't think comedy is unique in that sense. It's no, I don't agree at all. Don't agree. I think Twitter, and this is where people make the mistake, and not only from what he's saying, but also public opinion. Twitter is not public opinion. It is not. No. And, you've only got to look at Brexit to know that Twitter is not public opinion. And that's it. Nothing else to be said, is there really? It is not a barometer. It's just people just shouting very loudly. But,
I think people will be shouting very loudly at their pod-playing devices if we don't get on and comedy slap this show.
Well, I tell you what, shall we bang straight into it? Because the clip that I chose is actually...
Right at the top, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the opening scene, and I just thought, well, where better to start than the opening scene? Because we were coming to this, as you will come to this if you're listening to this podcast, as complete newbies, completely fresh, thinking, what's going on here? We see the outside... And I will give you this as a little bit of an extra visual for you, but we see the outside of a beautiful, stately building.
And there's your receipt.
Thank you. Jesus. Right. So, do we just go, or do you do a bit of a speech, or what happens now?
Well, we're sad to see you on your go. We've loved having you here.
Oh, God, yeah, I've had the time of my life, Teresa. I hope to come back as often as my schedule allows.
I'm sorry you didn't have a great time.
No, I didn't expect it to be a great time, Teresa. I'm not stupid. It's a lot of Shona's money. No, I was just saying it because I think the facilities could have been nicer, like the website shows.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, in fairness to Anya, when I booked her in, the website did make it look like there was a jacuzzi.
Yeah.
And, the jacuzzi was half how I convinced her to come here in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I said, at the worst, if she came, at least there'd be a jacuzzi.
Yeah.
And of course, as it turned out, it was just a picture of
Duck Pond.
Yeah. Which...
But, like I said, this is not a spa. It's a rehab facility, so we plough our money into care and therapists.
Yeah, I know, but I just don't see how a jacuzzi
Or a plunge pool.
would be a bad thing for people who just needed a bit of a boost, you know?
Ask me for a headline, because I've attempted, it's feel a very lonely fight at times. I've attempted to reinstate this feature whereby there's a bit of suspense as to not only what the show's all about, but because we take it in turns. We should explain to set the homework. It was your week. You didn't say that this week, did you? Anyway, and so it was your choice, and I had to react there too.
Give us a headline.
You should pre-record that. It'd be like Alan Partridge's Hot Topic. It's give us a headline. Press the button. Give us. I can't do it. Well, Mr. Bill Mitchell, voiceover to the stars. I will give it a headline. My reaction being this way down. Oh. And then up again. Oh, got you there. Oh, get you. Now here's the thing. I think I confessed at the end of the last show when you set the homework. Did I confess to having seen this?
Yes, I think you did.
Because I was interested in it. Yeah, I'm a sucker for hype, and there was a bit of a hype around this. I don't watch an awful lot of tellies. Maybe I just picked it up. We should say it's Channel 4. It's on all 4. And also, while we're getting the paperwork out of the way, Merman Television produced it in collaboration with Hulu. Should we get to that later?
How interesting you pronounce it, Merman.
As in Ethel.
And not a merman, which is the male equivalent of a mermaid.
To a mermaid. Yeah, okay. Fair dues.
But no, I thought it was so interesting you pronounce it like that, Merman. As in Ethel.
Sorry. I threw it away.
Anyway, look, so yeah, go on.
So I had seen it once before you even mentioned it.
Right.
Now, normally we watch things or listen to things twice. So I thought, the lazy part of me thought, well, I'm only going to have to watch it one more time, because technically that would be my 2. But actually, I didn't get on with it when I watched it originally. So I watched it another time. So that was whenever it went out, a few weeks ago, beginning of August. Watched it for the Slab. Absolutely loved it. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? I must have been in such a foul mood. I was ready to do a rant about, and I get my very high horse about, once we've moved away from, or if you move away from the sitcom or the studio audience where there's an expectation of a laugh a few times a minute even, you get into rhythm of it. That's how sitcoms are written. There's no point writing acres and acres of no gags, because, people will get restive. Whereas with comedy drama, of course, you can take as long as you want till the next gag. I felt this was in that category of not even quite deserving to be comedy drama, but it's completely me. I think it's fabulous, absolutely fabulous, to coin a phrase.
What was the thing that ruined it? Why?
I couldn't even see the humour in it. I mean, I just thought, I missed everything. I've got very wide mood ranges, classic showbiz profile.
The reason I ask you that is because that's where I'm at with it now. Is that
Oh no!
Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, the thought of watching the second episode fills me with dread.
You didn't mean the second time of the first episode?
No, I've watched the second time of the first episode. So
you'll leave it then?
I think, and it's not like me. I think I would. For many, there were lots of reasons why. Not just the gag count is an issue. Halfway through, I actually broke off and paused it and went onto the Internet Movie Database, which actually I found out this week. Did you know it's owned by Amazon?
Possibly did back in the mist. I don't know what point they picked it up, because I've been using it for 10 years and cheating.
Well, it was actually a guy in London who started the Internet Movie Database, but he sold it to Amazon for about 10 million quid, I think. But anyway, so halfway through, I went onto Internet Movie Database to look it up just to see how they categorised it, to see whether it was categorised as a comedy drama. and it's actually just categorised as a drama, interestingly enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that is a surprise.
Which
Because, Channel 4 are pushing it as a comedy, and
Well,
I believe it is. But
I don't know whether, and I kind of got the feeling, again, I think this is a kind of internal politics thing, is that I said to you that they're running this summer of comedy on Channel 4 and going really quite big on that. And I just wondered whether they said, oh, well, they're two comedy actresses of some renown. I mean, Aisling Bea has I think has done a lot smaller parts, but in an awful lot of things. And Sharon Horgan has done her own series and written her own series and that sort of stuff. So
Catastrophe was big for her, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the thing that I first saw in was a fabulous thing. If you've ever seen it, the increasingly poor decisions of Todd Margaret. Have you ever seen that?
No, I was interested at the time, never got round to it. I love the title.
That's the nuts that is. I tell you, it was a really, really good watch. But she was in that. But I just wonder whether they went, oh, there's two comedy actresses or two comedians, whatever you want to call them. Let's just stick them into the summer of comedy thing without actually kind of watching it and seeing what they've produced. Because I thought it was as grim as hell.
But hang on, I'm sorry, before we get masses of correspondence, which I'll just forward to you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at IMDb on this very show, way up.
I love a good letter. Yeah, go on.
It says genres comedy.
Oh, right. Oh, well, I looked at it the other day.
They might have changed, of course.
At the very top, under the title?
Yes.
It says
I
comedy.
think they changed it then, yeah.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. Because literally it was Thursday I looked at it.
Should have taken a screen grab.
Maybe they've had a couple. Well, I never thought they'd
trust you. No, you
changed it that quick. Maybe somebody's gone on and maybe somebody's mentioned it and said, actually, this is a comedy. But, I mean, I really struggled. I mean, I really struggled with it.
Can it remind me? So you hadn't seen this when you recommended it?
No, I'd just seen the trailer for it. In fact, I saw, this thing where you have a trailer and it's got the funniest line in it. You say, I went to watch a film and all the best bits were in the trailer. I kind of felt that I'd been had a bit like that, actually.
Right.
And I think it was the line, I think it's in one of our clips, it might not be, where she said, where do you get that dress? And she said, Forever 21. She went, well, there's the ultimate irony or something like that, which was in the trailer. And I thought, oh, that looks quite funny. Quite breezy. And I like both of them. I thought I've seen their previous work and thought, wow, yeah, I like that. But no, but interestingly, I mean, I didn't come away thinking that was rubbish because of it not being, but it felt to me that's what they'd wanted to produce. It didn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't a thing gone wrong.
No.
Did you get that sense? It wasn't. Oh, they tried to make it funny and it hasn't been. They were trying to write gags and they weren't landing. It wasn't that. It was like it was like they hadn't tried to make it funny.
That's where we part company. But
okay.
I would agree that it feels an honest vision, and of course, inevitably, I'm going to think, is this her own experience? Because essentially, you said Aisling. I knew an Aisling at BBC Radio 5 Live. Oh. Did you say Aisling? Pronunciation?
Aisling, yeah. God knows how you pronounce Irish names.
But you're Irish. You should know.
When BH becomes a V, you've got no hope, have you, really? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, yeah.
Don't badmouth your antecedents.
I'm not badmouthing. I'm just saying.
Or any of your other aunties.
They're ridiculous, aren't they? The way they do words.
Well, look, I've got enough enemies as it is. I'm not going to create another 3 million more. But no, I loved it, and I loved it for its Irishness. That's just an aside. What was I going to say? We must get onto a second clip. Had you asked me a question? I put in the queue and I've lost it.
No, other than I asked you originally why you felt like that about it the first time you watched it, and you put it down to a bad mood. But I think you're doing yourself an injustice there.
Well, except that I then went to I sat down and saw it a third time. So I do feel I think it would have been dangerous just because I might have just had a good mood and felt better about it. But actually, I feel I've reached what politicians call a settled view. I think it is. I nearly used the word genius. Do I mean that? Probably not that much, but it's extremely good. And I'm extremely disappointed that you didn't enjoy it as much as me. I mean, what can you say? I think it's teetering right on the edge between tragedy and comedy. And we're forever saying, I'm forever quoting Johnny Spade, two sides of the same coin. But that is life anyway. And art tries to imitate life, and very often it ends up being the other way around.
Although for that to work, you have to have both sides of that coin, don't you? And I think that's the thing. Is that I mean, I was listening the other night to an episode of the Lightly Lads, which has got the tragedy of is it Terry? I can remember the character name. Terry Collier. It is Terry. Yeah. And he's kind of like, he's all very tempered and his life's not really going anywhere. But so you've got that, but you have to have the comedy to drag you back out of that and to make you think that there is hope. But I kind of felt like this was almost like a tunnel without hope. It felt like I was in this tube. There was no hope at all. It was just like a continuous line.
Well, let our listeners see what they make of clip number 2, because okay. I think there is implied hope all over it, but it's certainly you wouldn't feel secure that any hope you might have, you clearly didn't feel it, but I feel it's there, and but you do feel it could topple at any time. That's how I felt. All
right, another clip then. Aisling Bea, she plays a character called Aine, and Sharon Horgan plays her sister, who's called Shona. And they're the central characters, really. That's all you kind of need to know, because it's about their life. And as we heard in the first clip, Aine is the one who's just checked out of a drug rehab centre, and she's kind of just adjusting to life back, back some sense of normality, I suppose, really. And what was nice is that you do kind of get a glimpse of the relationship of the two sisters and how they kind of interact and relate to each other, and the Sharon Horgan character very much is the older sister looking after her younger sister who's having problems with drugs, and putting the metaphorical and sometimes real arm around her and looking after her, and and keeping her on the straight and narrow. And here we see the two of them. They're at Shona's flat, and Shona's getting ready to go out.
Oh my God, what are you wearing?
What?
Where'd you get that?
Forever 21.
Well, that's a bit of irony if I ever heard it.
Oh, is it awful? I thought it looked kind of Wonder Woman-y.
I know, it's just a bit prostitute-y.
Aine!
Shona! What, you have a sweatshop full of clothes? Why don't you wear something from that?
No, I don't. I look old and awful and I've nothing to wear. What are you wearing under your cardigan?
My black leather mini.
Literally, just help yourself to anything that's on there, okay? Except for the dry cleaning stuff. On the white dress.
What time are you heading out?
Oh, they're gonna text me soon.
Huh?
Yeah, but I'll probably just scoot straight after you.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm grand. Yeah, of course.
Because you can come to this thing with me if you want.
No, you're mad. You donut. Can you imagine me at an event with all the suits? Oh, hey, listen, can I show you my thing?
Oh, honey, I could have it off.
No, wait, just wait a second. Look at this.
Show me.
Sorry, I'm not the most pretty. I'll never, ever
And because this is an audio podcast, I should fill in some visual gaps there. It is quite funny. I mean, you're hearing... I'm looking at the wrong show now. I was looking up, I was going to say, you're hearing James Bolam sing the dangers of IMDb missearch. Right, yeah, so you've already said Sharon Horgan as the sister. So Shona, I wanted to get the names the right way around. It's been a long day. Anyway, so yes, Aine is miming. It's with a toothbrush, isn't it? She was about to clean her teeth, wasn't she?
No, it is, but it's black, isn't it, for some reason? Because she's put it in front of her teeth to make her teeth look like they're blacked out. I couldn't figure that. There was a lot of things I didn't understand.
Anyway, she's pretending it's a microphone. That's
she's put it in front of her teeth to pretend that her teeth are blacked out. It was like, I don't know
But
why.
do you
it was
know the
black.
song and the singer? She hasn't got black teeth, has she?
No, but she was saying I'm not pretty, and that's what the lyrics were, and that's what she was.
And you accuse me of overthinking. Anyway, it's quite funny because she does. Is it funny even if you don't get the gag? As it turns out, I didn't.
I don't know if you got this feeling as well. I got this kind of sense of that the scenes were longer than they needed to be. I would have edited them shorter, and that was a good example when she was dancing around. And I thought, yeah, okay, I get it now. And it was what I call the monkeys have ate all the packed lunches. Remember, I told you. I don't know if I told you about this.
No, you have. You have.
The Lisa Riley on somebody that I work with always thought that the director who worked with Lisa Riley when she did You Being Framed hated her because he always left the camera on her for too long right at the end. and she'd do a line, she'd go, and watch these clips, all the monkeys have ate all the packed lunches. And then there'd be like this silence where she's just like grinning at the And I felt a lot of the scenes, I kind of thought, oh yeah, I kind of get it now. It felt like it was padded out. Did you didn't get that at all? No,
No. I mean, I think to come back to my earlier point, if it had been a sitcom with a studio audience sitting there expectant for laughs in real time, you'd crank up the pace probably 30%. And that's what the word drama, albeit with, as we found out, rejigged the word comedy in front of it. I think that's what it buys you. But of course, you can't just do it indiscriminately, and you have to win the audience over. I just thought.
Sorry. Can I just say I don't agree. It isn't that. It isn't about pace. It's about length.
I thought you said it's about hail. Well, that was last time. Hey.
But do you know what I mean? The difference. It wasn't about the pace of it. It was about the length of scenes. I kind of thought, yeah, okay.
I don't want to do a spoiler, but there is a very strong purpose to that sequence, with or without blacking out teeth. And I'm not going to spoil it here. Well, obviously, we have to talk about the plot, and there will be bits that little mini spoilers along the way. But I want people to. I was going to use the word enjoy. This is a bit, it goes into something a little darker than her teeth, but it has a purpose, and she'd won me over. And there's a lovely sequence. It's not in one of our clips where. So this is all about her adjusting, as you said, to... I have to correct you. I don't think... And I think she specifically says she hasn't had drug problems, but she has had a breakdown.
Right.
But we don't get to find out. So there's no spoiler to be had here, because I genuinely don't know. Shane won't know, because they don't tell us. And that is the reason I will go on to episode 2, because I care enough to know, why did she have a breakdown? It could be to do... I mean, there's a mention of an ex-boyfriend.
She did have drug problems, didn't she? Because she was on about, her friends, and she was saying about ketamine and saying that she shouldn't... you're not really going to take it, are you?
You just used the word ketamine. Doesn't mean you gobble a load after the
No,
Slab.
but do you know what I mean? And then she was I don't know, that was the impression I got. I thought it was very much,
there could be a denial thing then, in which case, yeah.
A drug-related breakdown was the issue. That's how I read it. And
she said she had a breakdown because she was a effing legend at one point.
Yeah,
remember that sequence?
Yeah, which meant like that she was always, on the booze or the coke or the.
Well, I didn't get that. I think it's more likely relationship breakdown and just a sort of organic. Sadness. I don't know. We'll find out, or at least you won't. We will never find out unless you ask me, because I want to see it.
Yeah, I think that was part of my problem as well with the characters, and you run a fine line, don't you, when you're. I think you see it differently as well. It's because you live or just live outside London. You work in London.
Yeah, we're all different here. We're subhuman.
No, I think you see it differently though. You see, like when we outside London watch something like people in London, living a life where they're on drugs and drinking all the while. It doesn't resonate in the same way that maybe it does if you're living in the capital.
What are you saying about me and my ketamine habits? We're going to have to give this an E certificate at this rate, because we are referring to drugs. Can I make it clear though, absolutely clear? I do not endorse them and I don't take them. apart from the one we're all in denial about, a little bit of alcohol, which is a drug, but we don't call it that because we want to. Anyway, refer back to our man.
I always take a couple of aspirin after the show. I don't know if that's after we've recorded.
I take a junior Disprin before the show, just so I'm a bit mellow.
just
to dull the nerves.
Do you know what? I always think it's fascinating. It's always out of these conversations. It doesn't always happen every week, but I always think it's fascinating when it does. Is the way that we can watch the same program, and you take a completely different set of things away from it that I do. Completely.
Yeah, but what's worrying, as we're learning, is I can watch the same program myself, and it's like a split personality. I can have two completely polar opposite views of it on adjacent, weeks.
Yeah,
it was a few weeks apart, but hey, what I was going to say. Well, I've got to say, there's a lovely sequence where we see her back at work, back in quotes because we haven't seen her before then at work, but we assume, she's resuming work, and she is teacher of English. My sister did a course which in those days was called TEFL, which I thought was something to do with non-stick saucepans, but it turns out, and we seem to have lost the T these days, but in those days it meant teaching English as a foreign language. You'll be familiar with that. Now it's EFL.
I said, don't look careful.
I thought you were going to do some all four gag, which you've done before, which is awful or awful. Anyway. So, and I think it's an absolutely lovely sequence where I fell in love with her. I fell in love with Anya. Clearly, you've got a heart of stone, and you sat there with your arms crossed.
Not at all. He put me in mind of, do you remember Mind Your Language?
Well, did you see the interesting trivia point on IMDb?
No.
Someone who was in Mind Your Language, which is going back, 40 years?
Yeah, it was an old London weekend television.
She's in that sequence.
Wow.
Shock horror, an older woman. Is it an Asian woman, perhaps?
Oh, I don't know. I used to love that Mind Your Language as a kid. I used to think it was so funny, and then it fell prey to the political correctness, didn't it? And it was.
Well, I've never seen it, but having seen Love Thy Neighbour, I can imagine. I think where they're coming from, but
no, it wasn't that. It was a college night class that and the guy used to teach them, and there's an Italian one, and it was because it was stereotypes. You're not allowed to, stereotypes aren't funny. Well, I think they are because but there you go. But yeah, like the Italian one, he was like really smooth and always after the chicks, and the French one, she was quite sexy, and you know what I mean. It was like, and presumably smelt the cheese. I don't know, but.
So it's just that kind of comment.
It was a really gentle program. It was really nice, and in the same way that what they did to Aine Half Up Mum. I just think, oh man, it's what a.
Well, I have to say, I would draw the line at someone blacking up these days. But anyway,
but it's not someone blacking up these days, is it? It's somebody blacking up then, and that was you kind of go that's what they did then. So you can't do revisionist history, can you? You can't go, so that didn't happen then. We'll just pretend that didn't. You go, okay, but that's fine. But it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. In fact, the guy who blacked up was actually born in India. So figure that one out.
Well, Spike Milligan was born in India, but that doesn't make him.
Well, he blacked up as well in his career.
Oh yeah, he did.
So
probably for that very. That was a bad example, wasn't it?
What are you going to do? He's Indian. Is he not allowed to? It's his own country. What's the matter with you? But yeah, it did. I didn't see that on our Internet Movie Database because I was only looking just to misread what kind of genre it was.
Of course, it could be nonsense because anyone, you or I, could put some quotes, interesting facts in.
Yeah.
But hey, I want to believe it, and it probably is true.
Anyway,
it's interesting.
Talking about supporting cast, I've got to mention some great supporting cast, and it leads us on to our final clip as well, which we're well overdue. My heart leapt and missed a beat when I saw Ricky Grover was in it, because again, I just love it. I think he's probably, that's the happiest I've ever seen him as a character in anything that he's ever been in, because he always plays somebody who's really quite earnest, doesn't he? Who's, he's kind of always on a knife edge. I think he plays so well. And it turns out we see him briefly, don't we, at the rehab place?
Giving her the finger, I believe is the expression. Can one say that on the Comedy Slab?
Quite an accurate description of what he did. And then they kind of sort of hook up again, don't they? Afterwards, I don't know whether
that's one word for it.
Yeah. And anyway, this is the scene. He plays a character called Tom. and they kind of decide to try and get it on.
I know, they remind you of two lovely melons.
Oh, Jesus. We shouldn't do this, son.
What?
You know we don't fancy each other.
No, I don't know that, no.
Look, you've got cracking boobs, but think what Teresa said. You know, 1 year of celibacy...
Oh, no, celibacy. Don't be...
No, don't you get it? I'm trying to respect you here, you mug.
God, could you have respected me after we had sex?
Oh, come on, you know this is a bad idea.
Oh, God, yes, I know, Tom, I know it all. But, God, do you ever just want to feel something for 5 minutes?
Of course I do. I just don't want us to set each other off or anything. Shit. They really are cracking boobs.
I know.
I'm sorry, babes. You're going to thank me for this in the morning?
No, I will not thank you for this in the morning, Tom.
Let me reveal, shock horror, to the audience, you did actually laugh during that, albeit one laugh, and albeit at the line ending on the word melons.
Yeah.
But laughter it was.
There were some great lines in it, weren't there? I mean, there was
lines.
There was one where Anya says to her sister, she said, "Oh, a crack addict just told me that I look thin."
Yeah.
And the sister went, "Oh, well, that's nice." You know?
Yeah, it's pretty dark, but yes, there are laughs there. But also, I think the more I hear it and see it, as you've gathered, I've seen it 3 times. I think it's a show about love, and it's also about people being people, failing, tripping up, being useless. But there's this incredible, for me, utterly believable bond between the sisters, the 2 lead characters, and that, for me, that glues it together. And I'll go with it. I'll go with it anywhere now.
Right. I mean, I have to say, maybe I will watch the second episode because
I think you should.
As we very often know, it is so. I mean, but we have to. We judge it on an episode, and you kind of, you have to judge it on that episode. And you might watch another episode and a third episode and think, actually, this is great, and the first episode didn't do it any justice. But that's all you've got to work with. That's all you've got to work with. So, I fully concede that I could be selling it short because, we're only judging it on one episode. So, I would put my hands up to that and say, I felt it was very dark. I felt it was much, I think it was like 70-30, 80-20 drama to comedy. And I felt the ratio for me, because you've got to ask the question, if they'd have said, coming this autumn on Channel 4, a new drama with these 2 in, I wouldn't have switched it on. I
see. So they drew you in, and we couldn't have slabbed it if it hadn't been billed as a comedy, perhaps.
No. Do you know what I mean, though? I kind of think if that, and that's the thing, is like I do wonder whether they've used it a little bit as a hook to hang the hat on, because, but again, one episode, who knows really.
I knows, but I'm just baffled as to why I didn't like it the first time. But
it is a bit weird. Oh, can I just say as well, Merman Productions or Merman Productions.
Merman.
It's another company, top table again, 10-4, 10 women to 4 men.
You wouldn't let it lie, would you?
So I haven't found an independent production company yet that the men outnumber the women. So somebody's been telling fibs about the ratios of how women get on in both business and in TV.
Oh no, hang on! You can't lump in business. Do you know what the percentage of
what can lump in? What do you think they are? They're not charities, are they? They're businesses. That's
no.
Are.
Let me finish. Yeah, but you can't say this sector of the TV industry, let's widen out and extrapolate to business.
Well, I can, because I'm countering the argument. Well, I can, because I'm countering the argument that says that women don't get on, and that's quite clearly not true. Every company I've looked up, there isn't one yet that the men have outnumbered the women.
Well, you're looking at the board, but you're obviously not looking at the FTSE 100, where it's a piddly little percentage of women at the top table there.
But that's a piddly snapshot. I think that's 100 companies out of how many companies in this country? Tens of thousands. Yeah,
but why? What? Well, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I celebrate it. Fine, no problem.
I don't. I think it's
problem at all.
disgraceful. I think that's not equity, is it? That's disgusting.
I don't. If you show me all the rejection slips from all your applications to the boards of these,
you see,
the TV
but you wouldn't ask for
companies.
that if it was the other way around, would you? You see, you've seen it's all
I think
crumbling. It's like sand beneath your feet,
Oh
love.
yeah, you're right. Yes,
Sand
a
beneath
few
your feet.
women in a very small sector in a vast world.
Give him a few
happen
facts.
to buck the trend.
Give him a few. I've got to say as well, you know Freddie, the character Freddie, played by Chris Gere.
Remind me. Hang
He's
on.
the blonde-haired chap who was in the when they went for drinks with her boyfriend.
Oh yeah. Is he her Anya's ex?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Gere. I actually used to work with his sister. I don't know if you'd know her. Do you know Verity Gere? She used to work. She still does work in radio. I think she works for Forces Radio now.
No, I don't actually. I know Richard Gere, but they spell it differently, so don't think he's related. Right. Change of gear. Are we at the point? Oh, I should just say.
Yeah.
You cut off the first clip. There was a lovely line where we didn't hear where she mentioned she would have liked a Kit Kat. There's a lovely. It's just this little subtlety. She said, "This is so if people can rewind in their mind to her checking out of think of a Priory type place, and she said on top of the jacuzzi thing, which we did hear in the clip." She said, I would have willingly paid twice the recommended retail price for a Kit Kat.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not just, I would have paid £1 million. It's just,
But I think
lines.
that was outdone by who would confuse a duck pond for a jacuzzi. It didn't kind of stack up.
Yeah,
for me.
well, maybe that, in my grumpy first viewing, that was a problem because I couldn't see how you would confuse
You wouldn't,
the
would
two.
you?
So, yeah, okay.
But,
Have it your own way.
But yeah, listen. We critique the shows, and then he critiques how I've cut the clips now. Not a mention that I took 16 F words out of the one, and you couldn't even tell.
I would have left them in and slapped on an e-certificate, which we might have to do anyway.
Well, we spend an hour talking to each other, all civilised, and never drop the F-bomb once, or even a C word or anything like that.
That's because you won't let me.
And then we play a clip. Well, you can if you want to, but
FFF. You all got smashing blouses on.
Come on, give us a number, you big wazzock. Can I say wazzock, or will I get an E-certificate for that now?
Well, I might bleep that. It's me editing this week, isn't it?
E for Ecky Thump.
Yeah, gosh. These callbacks. Yes, people can Google it.
Google it, you lazy
right.
so-and-so.
Yes, so we mark out of 5, which you failed to say. So it's all right. I'll tell people for the first time, for the first-time listeners. So sorry, but I get told off at other times for not explaining the rules. So marks out of 5 and then add them up and try and make something out of 10 collectively. So this is me buying time, of course.
Do you want me to tell you mine?
Do you know? Yeah, okay.
2.
It's not. Yeah, I was expecting that.
2.
Anyone could see that coming a blimmin' mile off.
Yeah, SARS. Well, I don't like to say, there's nothing personal. It just didn't. But that's based on one episode, and I don't know. I tell you what. If you listen to episode 60 or 61, maybe of the Comedy Slab, because this is episode 59. A couple of episodes time, I'll let you know. I'll watch episode 2, and I'll let you know.
Force yourself.
Yeah,
treat yourself.
Whether I think I've been unfair or whether I'm going to sort of move forward. But based on all I've got now, I can only tell you is a 2 from me. What about you?
Well, you see, earlier in the day, I was thinking 3.5.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm trying not to be bloody minded just because I do the opposite of whatever you do. But I've talked myself into giving it a 4, I think. Yeah, and Frankie Boyle will be pleased because I'm not damning it. And, if enough people go on Twitter and say, I'll only give it 2 out of 5 like you, goodbye Series 2, which obviously you won't mourn in your current state.
I know we're all for finally killing off any
I'm joking.
any kind of free speech in this country anymore. But
I'm sorry, can I cut you off there? No.
But a world without any kind of criticism or critique would be very odd, wouldn't it, really? I mean, it'd be like we'd all kind of got some kind of brain injury or something, and, we'd all, I can't say anything nasty about anything. I can only say something. It's just weird.
The ultimate irony is this coming from the mouth of Frankie Boyle.
Yeah.
Of all the people you don't expect to say. But anyway.
Although, in a way, you do, because if you think about what Frankie Boyle does, I mean, if you think what he does with hecklers, he has the right to reply, and he ends up getting the last word. So maybe
that's true.
Because I learned very early on, you can't have an argument with somebody on Twitter because, I mean, people are just so into it that they'll just keep it going and keep it going and you just, long after you're
falling into their trap, aren't you?
Yeah, and long after you pass caring what they're talking about, they're still going at it, and you kind of think, so I never get into. If somebody tries to bait me into an argument on Twitter, I just won't bother. I just go, oh yeah, okay, fine.
Oh well, that's the last time I do it then.
Well, every other day he does it to me, but
but I thought you were going to say what I will say, which is coming back to the stand-up comedy space where Frankie Boyle lives and breathes and has his being. You cannot win an argument with someone with amplification.
Exactly.
Forget it. You might have the most brilliant comeback line to their comeback line.
Yeah.
You ain't going to win because it won't be heard.
Yeah.
You might have a little pool of people near to you who just heard you acoustically, but yeah.
That actually ruined a gig for me, that did. I went to see Lee Mack, who I'm a big fan of.
I've seen him live, yeah.
At Birmingham Symphony Hall, and he must have done 35% of his show he did as an interactive with the audience. So where are you from and doing all this? And I couldn't hear the audience. It was just a waste of time. Everybody's around us. We're just sat here going, "What's this?"
That's dark. Yeah,
didn't work.
Also, I thought your line of attack was going to be, I came to hear his wonderful crisp one-liners, or not to hear.
No, right. He kind of did this sort of interactive section of the show, and it just didn't work at all, really, because there was no roving mic or anything like that. But yeah, so you're sticking with 4, are you then? 4 out of 5?
I am, yeah, because I think it's a quality work, and I do seriously hope you come round to it. I don't have too much investment in that actually happening, but
Okay. You're absolutely right, anyway, to say that it is Channel 4, and it is a Merman production. For
Merman.
For Channel 4. Merman, that's what I said, wasn't it?
You said Merman.
Did I?
You've gone down the
No, that's when I say Merman,
fault.
I go Merman, but Merman production.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway.
Be yourself.
For Channel 4. So, time for you to tell us what we've got to do as our homework for next week. What are we watching, listening to, or enjoying?
Well, I can't guarantee you'll enjoy it, especially after your experience with the show we've just slabbed. But it's our first request. Loyal listener Gary, whose middle name is Listener, first name Loyal, last name Gary, which is odd because I happen to know his first name is Gary. But anyway, loyal listener Gary has requested, personal contact with me that we slab a show that he thinks I should have a particular angle on because it's set in a building I work in.
Okay.
Which you could say is the ultimate navel gazing. I mean, history will decide whether that's what the show is ultimately anyway. What would I be talking about? It can only be one show. Actually, it could be more than one, perhaps.
The name escapes me. I've just watched, if it's the one I'm thinking of, I've just watched it for pleasure. The whole 2 series. W1A.
Yeah, although before you have more correspondence to answer, I think it went to 3 series. It must do, because I've written down, I'm suggesting series 3, episode 1.
Right.
So W1A, and W1A, if you don't know, is the first part of the postcode for BBC Broadcasting House, and it's in London's thrusting West End. I wasn't quite sure which adjective I wanted to go for. So W1A, 1AA, or what's the alternative? It had a different postcode. In fact, there was a show. I mean, what a fascinating title for a show. Don't know if you remember the Request show on Radio 1 about 100 years ago with Annie Nightingale.
No, I've studiously avoided anything with Annie Nightingale in.
It was called W1A4WW because that was the address given out on air. How interesting am I? That's why I get invited to parties, you see, to talk postcodes.
Okay, right. So what did you say? Series 3, episode 1.
Absolutely, yes. Of
Okay.
W1A, which is currently on BBC iPlayer, and as we speak, it's available for another 9 months. So, Shane, your wife could conceive this night, and by the time baby number 3 is available, you're going to lose W1A.
I think you overestimate how strong those headache tablets are that I take after the show. Personally.
I'm on the okay.
But there you go. Anyway, if you like the Comedy Slab and you like to catch up with previous episodes, or maybe you just like to hear this episode in a better way, which makes me wonder how you're hearing it now. I'm not even going to think about this or dwell on it. But suffice to say, our whole back catalogue can be had on the internet in various forms, and not least the fact we're on Spreaker, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts, and many, many more, as K-Tel used to say.
Gosh, K-Tel, all our yesterdays.
Google it.
And it falls to me. Google it, you fool. I've convinced myself that's an Alan Partridge line now, but it is actually you, isn't it?
It's just me.
As Alan but you are turning into Alan Partridge. Anyway, I'm doing anti-social media. So if you want to have a Twitter rant, obviously you're wasting your breath aiming it at Shane on Air, which is his Nib's handle. But I will pick up correspondence. I'm so desperate. You see, I'm like the Anya character. I'm so lonely. I will actually get into a Twitter rant because at least someone's connecting with me. So at Comedy Slab is our Twitter handle, or if you specifically want to aim your ire at me, then that's fire with a silent F, isn't it, really, ire? I am at Adrian Lacey01, Lacey with an E. But we prefer for these purposes to follow us on at Comedy Slab, which is coincidence. No, it's not coincidence at all. It's our pan media strategy that it's the same handle at the Book of Facebook page that we have.
It's all deliberate. It's all deliberate.
It's almost like someone thought of it.
Kinda. And so until next time, I'm going to spend the rest of this week collecting all the F words that I've taken out of the clips from this series, and I'm going to go and meet Adrian surreptitiously and actually turn them into his ringtone on his phone.
Yeah, I think you should. That's a bit like Cinema Paradiso. Google it. But I've just spoilt Cinema Paradiso for you. Well, I'm going to sit in a jacuzzi with a Kit Kat, which is the best way to spend your weekend.
But will you pay the full retail price for it? That's what I want to know.
I would pay double the recommended retail price. Oh, get me and my huge wealth.